How to determine your expertise. I'm going to show you how. Hey there friends, what's good? It's Jason Ligo here again with Always Enterprise. And in this video, I actually want to talk to you about how you can determine your expertise. All right, in this day and time, one thing that I think is important for you to realize, if you haven't already, is that people pay for expertise, and they do so on a consistent basis. But that being said, it's amazing how many people don't get into the enterprise business by way of their expertise and their, being able to provide coaching, consulting, becoming a trainer. A lot of the times it's because they don't find themselves qualified to teach on anything, to impart knowledge on, or they just are not confident in their ability to do so. A lot of the times it's because of an inadequacy that they think that they have because they have no credentials or a large following. But with that being said, it's actually not very hard to become an expert. The fact is, everyone has expertise. I believe so anyway. And a lot of what you need to do is just figure out what exactly that expertise is, and then from there you can turn it into an enterprise. And I can promise you that there is likely someone out there who wants to pay you for that specific information and that training. All right, so what I'd like to do today is dive into 3 specific questions that you can ask yourself to help you discover exactly what that expertise is. And again, it's important to note that a lot of what is taught today, depending on what medium you're watching and what it is that you're consuming, a lot of what is taught is that you should be following your passions. And while I think that's important, I think what's more important is to follow what you're good at, all right? That's what gets you paid, is what you're good at. And sometimes that doesn't line up with your passions, right? So if you want to start a business, I would recommend you start a business and start, monetizing the knowledge that you have, what you're good at, your expertise. And obviously it's a better situation if what your expertise is and your passions align up. But if they don't, that's okay. Get paid on what your expertise is and then use that to fund your passions, all right? So with that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. Number 1, what knowledge do you have? What I'm referring to though is more specifically, what have you amassed an amount of knowledge of that exceeds that of the average person, all right? In other words, what is something that you just know a lot about, okay? Now, before you answer that question, remove any mental blocks that tries to get you to qualify and quantify how important you think it is. It's not that important, all right? Don't try to judge what you know in terms of its relevance or its perceived relevance. Well, I just don't think a lot of people are gonna pay for that. You don't know. So be honest with yourself and ask yourself the question, what knowledge have I amassed in a large amount of that exceeds that of the average person? If you can answer that, what you've just now discovered in and of yourself is how much knowledge you have on a particular subject. And again, it's just something that you know about. Okay, you'd be surprised how many people would pay for this knowledge. So find out what it is that you know. Number 2, what have you learned? All right, what have you learned? More importantly, what is something that you have spent years learning? All right, this is basically refers to the amount of time that you have spent and invested into learning a particular trade, a particular skill, a particular subject. So much so that you could also teach it to somebody else. That's normally the case when you put in a significant amount of time into learning something. All of a sudden, there's a discovery that is attached to that again, not only increases your adeptness and your ability to accomplish something with this particular knowledge, but it's also something that you can transfer and pass on to somebody else. When you have this in mind, you also now know that you can build a product and informational around this thing, and it's something that you can transfer, all right? A lot of the times the expert business and the coaching business is nothing more than a transfer of knowledge. And if you can add implementation to that, it's all the more powerful. So figure it is what you know. Number 3, what problem can you solve? What problem can you solve? In other words, what is it that you know, or what is it that you can do that you know specifically will serve as a solution to somebody else's problem out there? All right, and again, I want you to think more along the lines of what is something that I could do for somebody, or what can I teach them to do? In other words, what is something that I can pass on that will also, in effect, fix this problem, fix this solution, enhance their life, or make it better? And it really just comes down to the simplicity of that. In my previous career, I was in the commercial banking of sorts, all right? And as a commercial banker and working for a financial services institution, a very large one at that, my job and my pitch always to my clients that always worked and always made sense to them was not something along the lines of a long corporate spiel that had anything to do. At no point did I ever have to tell them about how long I worked for the firm, or give them my credentials, or talk to them about the many licenses that I had to work hard to obtain in order to step in this position. Oftentimes, it was as simple as me telling them, and this was what it was to existing clients as well as to new prospects that eventually brought over large amounts of money to bank with me and become my client. A lot of the times, it was as simple as me telling them, my job as your banker, all right, whether it's business side, on the investment side, whatever. My job as your banker is to help you make money, help you save money, or help you put your money to work for you. And it was just that simple. And what's interesting is that that pitch and that line was far more effective than anything that any of my colleagues were saying, where they were mentioning the amount of degrees that they had and how many schools they went to, and everything else that you can imagine. So if you can answer these questions, I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised with what you discover. And in so doing, you can also find out that you now have an asset that you can use, that you can informationalize, and importantly monetize into a business that could serve as an enterprise and serve you for many years to come. There you have it, my friends. 3 ways that you can determine what your expertise is. I trust you got value from this. Again, my name is Jason Ligo with Always Enterprise. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, so that way you don't miss any more hot new content that I got coming down the pipe just for you. I'll see you next time. Keep enterprising.